care for individual candidates. So to me, what I know, what I can tell you is EA, this is what it does. It keeps kids from getting more molested in the future. Because when you have a 10-year sentence for kids that are raped, talking about children that are raped, then that's 10 years they can't do it again. And what we see now, what I see now, what I have to deal with families and victims who are absolutely destroyed, is that because the mandatory minimum sentence is gone, that their sentences under the guidelines are now about 5 or 6 years. So they're getting out sooner, and kids are absolutely going to get abused because of it. So as far as the legalities of it, all Paul and I can really say is we'll follow the law, we'll follow the Constitution if and when that comes in. And that's for the legislator to decide whether they want to pass another thing. So I've seen the consequence. Right now, that mandatory doesn't exist, so it's out. So it would have to be crafted again by the legislature to put back in. I'm telling you, from my experience, what I see in the real world, the impact of not having that, it does make a difference to the lives of so many kids, and I've seen the value of it. So.
Okay, any more?
My question is about how do we reverse these sanctuary cities? And isn't that a violation of the law?
Well, sanctuary cities is not necessarily a violation of the law. However, currently in the legislature, our PA House and Senate are working on bills that would change or eradicate sanctuary cities in our Commonwealth. One of the things you have to keep in mind is, of course, we learned from second grade there were 3 co-equal branches of government. And so as the judiciary, we're not an advisory court. We are people that interpret the law. So the legislature actually makes the law. So hopefully our legislature will come together and make sure that these sanctuary cities are a thing of the past in Pennsylvania. I can tell you, being a judge in Philadelphia, that I've had numerous cases in the criminal trial division where I did have quite a few of illegal immigrants that would commit crimes. They would come before me all the time. And when they were convicted, I would try to send them away to state prison. Of course, I couldn't do it. ICE would have to come and get them. But I can tell you as a judge, in a matter of a year or two, they were right back in front of me. So when they tell you it's not an issue, it is an issue. But our legislature would re-elect them to do their job. And if they do their job, and if they pass it, then of course it would be illegal in the Commonwealth.
The only thing I'd say to that really is, if we don't have law enforcement at every level, the federal, state, and local level working together, the consequences are going to be devastating, and they are devastating to our communities and our law-abiding citizens. You advertise as a sanctuary city, who do you think is going to come to that sanctuary city? Where's the person that's more likely to commit some offense to go? Or somebody that's wanted to go. So it kind of speaks for itself. It's sort of like some of these gun-free zones that you see advertised. Well, what does that do? What that means is the law-abiding citizens don't take their guns in, and those who would commit crimes do. And that's really what it's sort of the real-world example.
Got another one. Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
What happens if the Superior Court has a deadlock? They cannot reach a decision. It's a 1-1 tie, or they can't reach a decision. What happens?
It wouldn't be. There are 15 judges that are on the Superior Court. So if they have to make a decision, what is called in back, that means all of them would have to decide there are 15. So it never would be a tie. So they typically sit panels of 3 unless the entire court hears.
We got one back here now.
Any more questions out there?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Thanks to you, Patrick, for showing up again in Berks County. I know it 3 times. Dedicated to see it. At any rate, the question I have is this: as a Superior Court justice, what do you envision as the process going forward as a judge when you have cases in front of you that, albeit most of them, aren't reflected in total by the Pennsylvania Constitution? So what processes might you go forward or do perform as a judge in trying to make sure that you render the best judgment that you can?
Well, even as a judge now, what I do is I believe in upholding the rule of law. It's very important. And that's why I'm running, because there has been, as we see, there's been a watering down of our rights and of our Constitution. And even here recently, where we had a judge who stopped the president that we elected to do his job. And so now you have this wave of judicial supremacy, where the judiciary has really usurped authority, if you will, over the other branches. And that creates a major problem. As a judge, you must follow the rule of law and the Constitution. This is the only nation that has a Constitution over 200 years, 222 years to be exact. The average life of a Constitution in any nation is 17 years. So that lets you know how valid and important our law is. There's a text in the Bible that says, if the foundations be destroyed, then what can the righteous do? If our foundation, our rule of law, our Constitution is gone, what do we do as a nation and as people? And all of us on the Republican ticket are committed to following the rule of law and our Constitution. We have to. We have to, for the sake of the nation and for the Commonwealth.
Is there anything in Pennsylvania law that prevents having term limits on all elected officials, including legislators and judges?
Honestly, I didn't have to look for sure, but I don't think there is anything that prevents the legislature to do that.
It's up to the legislature. They decide. And the legislature can decide our terms to judges. So I think it's important for us to let you know, as judges, our role really is kind of sort of limited. It's the legislature that really bears a great responsibility in making sure that they pass the right laws. That's their job. And if you elect people that pass the wrong laws, then you know what you got to do. Re-elect somebody else, right? And that's the privilege of being an American in a democratic society, that we have the right to elect who we choose. But remember, term limits and all that is based on what the legislature does. We don't decide that as judges.
I just want to follow up on that, and that's why the race is so important, because you need to have judges that understand their role. And the Constitution and the founders envisioned that the legislature was going to be the most powerful. They were the ones that were going to have the influence. And one of the reasons for that is you can vote them out. And if you don't like what they can do, you can vote them out. Typically what we have in America now is the judges get in there, it's very hard to get rid of them. I mean, with retention vote, they're in there a lot of times for life. And they have the power to do that. I don't think our founders ever thought that the judiciary would become the most powerful branch. And in many ways now, we see how they are becoming that. And our ticket is running actually to reverse that trend and make sure that we go back to, that we're deferring to the legislature. We have to follow the law, you have to follow the Constitution, but really, you know, you go back to the founders and you read about the American Revolution and what they fought for, and that was one of the most important things that they always envisioned, was the legislature would be the leader. The president was not even supposed to be as powerful as the president is now. And we can debate that here or there, but I think what's important to know from us, from our ticket, from the top to the bottom, we understand that the role of the judge is limited, and I think that's why you saw such a fight at the Supreme Court under Gorsuch, why the Democrats were fighting so much, because they have tried to push a liberal agenda through. They can't get it through the legislatures across most of the country, but they can try to get it through the courts. And that's what they've done, and that's what they understand. When we figured that out, we started saying, put Gorsuch up there, they realized what's at stake, and we're sort of on to what they're on to. And honestly, that's part of the reason why I think each and every one of us on the Republican side are running, and why we're running together.
Okay, any more Q&A questions?
Well, here.
Okay, we've got time for at least got one yet.
Hello, thanks for being here tonight. In California, they have citizen-initiated binding referenda on the ballots, which we don't have in Pennsylvania. Perhaps referenda is not the right word, but what would we have to do to get that kind of thing passed in Pennsylvania?
I don't really know, except that, again, maybe you have to look to the legislature for the answer. I don't know. But one of the things I will say, we're talking about judges and so forth, you know, there's always this misconception that people do believe that federal judges are appointed for life. That's not the Constitution. They are appointed until they are removed by the Senate. And most people don't know this historically. federal judges have been removed for just a little as being disrespectful to people. But the liberal agenda has pushed it that people believe that you're in there for life. You're not. It's just that our Senate refuses to act when they see these things. Why? Because a lot of them legislate from the bench. And that has been acceptable recently. So I just wanted to clear that up, that understand, nobody is in for life. You can get rid of them. We just have to join together to do it. And you have to push your senator, to be able to do it. It's not easy, obviously, because for so many years, the system has been really stacked on the liberal side. But we need people that are willing to fight and to say, wait a minute, we're not going to take this laying down. And that's why we're running.
Okay, we're good on time. I'm going to go to each one. I'll let each one have a minute to do a wrap-up, why they should be the one to get elected, and we'll move on to the next candidates.
Well, thank you all very much for coming. I mean, it's so important. The only way that we can sort of win this, the only way we can win this is if people like you care and get out and vote. We have a challenge in the primary. There's not for the Commonwealth Court, not for the Supreme Court, but we do have a challenge in the Superior Court. A candidate that did not go through Pennsylvania Bar Association scrutiny, did not go through the panel, did not go through the Republican State Committee endorsement process, but she's on the ballot. And she's counting on a strong vote from Allegheny County to come out, and she could knock one of us out. And if she knocks one of us out, you know what the ads are going to be. She will get a not recommended from the Pennsylvania Bar Association, and it will hurt the entire slate. It'll hurt a Supreme Court candidate, it'll hurt 2 Commonwealth Court candidates, and it'll hurt the Superior Court candidates. As I told you, I just want to emphasize again, 7 of the 31 spots are at stake in this ballot, this primary, and then in November. And that is an enormous significance to Pennsylvanians going forward for yourself, your families, and generations behind you, because it will set the path and the laws of what kind of country, what kind of state we are going to have here. And I just can't emphasize enough how glad I am to be running with Paula and the rest of this team. I would not do this if I didn't believe everybody believed the same as I did on the issues, on the core issues, the importance of the judiciary.
And just like Craig said, we thank you all for coming out and for listening. And it's a clear indication that you people care. That's why you're here. We have too many people in our Commonwealth, in our nation, that don't care. You care. And because you do care, you care about the laws and the people that you put in office. Just make sure that you select the 7 conservative judges for this court. We have brochures back in the back that tell a little bit about all of us, have our websites and all that information. Please tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies to vote for Republicans, please, so that we can continue the legacy of preserving our rule of law here and, of course, upholding our Constitution. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Just remember, Paula Patrick, Craig Stedman, they showed up. When you pull your levers, you can pull up to 4, but there's 2. Okay. By the way, I'm going to do one small announcement, but you did not acknowledge when I said the surrogates or anybody that's running for office in a minor case, but Rebecca back there, put your hand up, Rebecca. She is there manning the table for Scott Wagner. He announced he's running. Now, he's not up this time, but he's running. We have him here as a speaker. You know what he stands for. Make sure before you leave, you pick up literature or talk to her or see what's up there, back there regarding Scott Wagner for governor. Okay, next up we're going to have the Commonwealth Court. And in this case, we just have one surrogate. Mary Coyle will speak on behalf of Christine. Yeah, I know. I tried to dig up some bios in some of these folks. All I can say about Christine is she's a solicitor, a prosecutor, and presently a Delaware County judge.
Thank you, Ron. This is an audience that gets it, without a doubt, Berks County. I live in Chester County. I get my car serviced in Berks County. I get my dog serviced in Berks County. So I totally appreciate being here. It's almost like being home. Judge Christine Pisano-Cannon is currently a judge in Delaware County on the Court of Common Pleas there. She's definitely a family person, a family judge, and she also has 3 children, twin boys and a little girl, all under the age of 6. So she's a busy mom and a very hardworking judge. One of the things that Judge Pisano-Cannon asked me to make sure that I let you know is, number one, a lot of you, how many of you are committee people or state committee people? Anybody in the audience? Well, thank you so much to all of you for the petitions that you got signed so that Judge Pisano-Cannon can be on the ballot. She was endorsed by Republican State Committee. I'm also a member of Republican State Committee and was there for her endorsement and our team's endorsement as well. We're very excited, as Craig Stedman said, that this is absolutely a critical and important cycle. Sometimes people say, well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not the candidate, and I know how important judges' races are. You, especially this audience and the Berks County Patriots, totally get why it's important to have really good conservative judges up there. The Judge Pisano-Cannon has also been endorsed by many pro-life organizations. She is also very pro-Second Amendment. She's been highly recommended by the Pennsylvania Bar Association, and she is definitely a judge that I know because we vetted her. The State Committee, we asked a lot of tough questions of judges. She will not legislate from the bench. We don't want judges' opinions up there. We want them to absolutely go by the rule of law. That is absolutely critical. She's got many wonderful endorsements that she's very proud of, most notably from state police and fire organizations. Her grandfather was the first police chief in her hometown in Delaware County, so she's definitely all about law and order. Paul Lally is also a candidate for Commonwealth Court. There are 2 spots that are for election right now in Commonwealth Court, so we definitely want to get those spots filled. That particular court, a lot of you may know a lot about because it's in the news every once in a while. I know Judge Ann Covey has had some decisions lately on some very interesting cases that affect all of us. We also have some of the things that are really important that she wants you to know is that, again, she will not legislate from the bench, and she very much appreciates your vote come this November, come this May primary, but also then in November. I'll be able to get some signs out to Ron when the time comes. We have some lawn signs, get some more material, and I'm also leaving some material behind at the table so that it's at your headquarters. I know the candidates have another event to get to, so I'm going to wrap up. If you have any particular questions that I can take to the judge, I can't answer them because I'm a surrogate, but I'd be glad to take them and pass them along to her. And thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. And as Judge Muncy says on Tuesday, vote Monday, and Judge Cannon says, boom, vote Cannon. Thank you.
Okay, as they say, all politics is local, and that's where we are now with our candidates for the Berks County Court of Common Pleas. We had 3 responded, however, a 4th one showed up this evening, so we end up with the 4 candidates for the Berks County Court of Common Pleas. So, with that in mind, would the 4 candidates move their way up to the podium? While they're coming up, in no particular order, we have Benjamin Nevius, sorry. Ben is a Republican. He's cross-filed on the Democrat side as well, and has extensive civil litigation experience. We have Kelly Klein. Kelly Klein is a Democrat, cross-filed as a Republican, and she was a past prosecutor in the DA's office, and presently a partner in a Reading law firm. We have Tina Boyd, and Tina cross-filed, a Democrat cross-filed on the Republican side. She's an associate attorney with the Boyd Carver law firm, and she specializes in family law. Now, we have a fourth candidate that I didn't realize was going to be here. However, everyone's welcome, and that is Michael Camarino. And I have no background on Michael, so you'll have to give your own when you give your talk. What I did, to be fair here, folks, I have 4 numbers, and each of you take a number, and that's the order you're going to be speaking. And if you got a number 1, you go first. I can only say tough apples. Who's got the 1? Okay, you're on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Kelly Klein. I am one of the 4 candidates here running for Court of Common Pleas. As the gentleman indicated, I am born and raised here in Berks County. I started in Reading and went to Talton Marion Elementary School, and I moved to Ole and graduated from the Ole Valley in 1991. I went to the Pennsylvania State University. I went to Widener University School of Law and graduated in 1998. After I passed the bar exam, I started my legal career with Berks Women in Crisis, now known as Safe Berks, and I worked to protect victims and help them obtain protection from abuse orders. I helped them safety plan. I helped them create a budget, helping them get out of abusive situations. I left there in February of 1999, and I went to the Berks County District Attorney's Office, and as District Attorney Stedman told you, it's one of the best jobs that you can ever hope to have as an attorney. I spent just short of 5 years there working for Mr. Baldwin, and in 2004 had the opportunity to leave and go to the State Attorney General's office. And I prosecuted cases statewide, working for, first being hired by Mr. Pappert, and then eventually working for former Governor Corbett. When I left the Attorney General's office, I came back to Berks County, and I had the opportunity to work as a solicitor for Berks County Children and Youth Services. And I worked for the county, as a public servant, working to protect families, working to protect children who were in homes where they just couldn't be safe at that particular time. I left being a solicitor in 2008 when John Adams was elected as our district attorney, and I went back to the district attorney's office and served there for 4 more years. Now, during my time as a district attorney, and as Mr. Stedman indicated to you, I enjoyed my time in the district attorney's office very much. I had the opportunity to learn from some of the best individuals who have sat on the bench in Berks County. I handled cases really from start to finish. So we started a criminal case as with a preliminary hearing with charges being filed by our local police officers. And I handled cases at the preliminary hearing level before being assigned to a trial courtroom. I eventually worked my way out of that preliminary hearing unit, and I went to the juvenile delinquency unit. And I practiced law in juvenile court for about 6 or 7 months, understanding and learning the system and the importance of early intervention and trying to deter juveniles from entering into a life of crime. And after I worked there for a period of time, I was assigned to Judge Keller's courtroom. And for those of you who know Judge Keller, I can tell you that I firmly believe that he is one of the best jurists that Berks County has ever seen. And it was with great honor that I had the opportunity to be in there for almost 2 years. When I left his courtroom and when I left the district attorney's office, I went to him and I told him that I appreciated everything that he taught me, because I firmly believe that there is no way to learn the law or to learn the rules of evidence better than when you're actually doing it. You can read the rules of evidence when you're in law school and you can recite them. It doesn't mean that you know how to apply them, and it doesn't mean that you know how to use them. And the key, ladies and gentlemen, when you're a trial attorney, is knowing what evidence should come in, what evidence needs to stay out, so that we can protect the people who are involved in that particular case and in the system. So I learned from Judge Keller how to apply the rules of evidence, and I practiced there trying cases, child abuse cases, sexual assault cases, rapes, domestic violence cases, and homicides. When I left Judge Keller's courtroom, I also had the opportunity to enter into the appeals unit. And what the appeals unit did in our local district attorney's office, similar to the position that Mr. Stedman and Ms. Patrick are running for, is I used to argue cases in front of the Superior and the Supreme Court. So when the Commonwealth obtained a conviction against an individual and the individual appealed it to the Superior Court, you heard that there are 71% of the cases that go to Superior Court are criminal cases. I had the opportunity to continue representing the Commonwealth and upholding those convictions and making sure and further protecting the citizens in the county. So I handled on appeal cases where we had obtained a conviction, either murder cases, capital homicides, any kind of conviction that came into us, or I initiated an appeal on behalf of the Commonwealth. If I believed in reviewing a case or in reviewing a decision that a judge made, that a decision was wrongfully made, I had the opportunity in discussing with my boss, whether it was Mr. Baldwin or Mr. Adams, I had the opportunity to present the case for why we should appeal that to the Superior Court and why I believe that the judge might have made the wrong decision. So when you look at my criminal background, the practice of law in the criminal arena, I've really done all that there was to do in that venue. I've initiated cases. I've worked in the investigative grand jury, which was something that Mr. Adams brought back to Berks County, using the resources that the grand jury has available to them to advance prosecutions and investigations where there might be a reluctant witness or where we needed some additional legal tools to be able to get the evidence that we required. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I just felt as though for your benefit, to best serve you, the people of Berks County, I felt as though just having criminal law experience was not enough in order to take the next step in my career. So after I spent time in the district attorney's office the second time, and I started thinking that this was something that I might want to pursue, I decided to leave the DA's office the second time in 2012. And I created my own law firm. I went out on my own with one other individual who I worked with in the DA's office. Her name is Kate Nadira. And Kate and I opened our own law firm. We practice in the city. And I have devoted my practice there to family law and to dependency court and to some civil litigation. So I handle divorce and custody work. I handle dependency cases with children and youth services. And this time I'm in a little bit different role. I work with the parents, trying to help them get back on their feet. Sometimes, the kids are removed from their homes just because they've hit a string of bad luck. They're homeless, or they have an addiction issue, or they have something, and I work with them to get them back on track and get their kids back. Ladies and gentlemen, I am standing here before you asking for your support and for your vote, because I believe that in order for us to have faith in our judiciary and for us to understand the role of the judiciary in our system of checks and balances, you have to have the background and the understanding of all of the court system, and not just one particular area of law. And I believe that in order to restore our faith in the judiciary and in our system, we have to have judges on our bench who are qualified to handle any case that comes before them, regardless of where we're assigned when we first go there. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to someone else. And again, my name is Kelly Klein, and I'm asking for your support on those 16.
You did fine. You were right on schedule. The other three, I just point you out, the yellow, give your 1 minute wrap. Okay, with that in mind, we have Ben Yanides coming next, and take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. My name is Ben Yanides. I am 37 years old. I'm Berks County born and raised. I went to Brandywine High School, and I live in Ole Township with my wife Jennifer and my 2 daughters. And I want to say off the bat, my wife, who is absent today, hasn't been able to come to a lot of these events with me because she is busy at home. Super mom while working a 40-hour work week and taking care of all of my design work for my campaign. I could not do any of this without her, so I felt that I needed to acknowledge that, how important she was in this process. And if you see all those signs that are going up outside with my name on it, I'd say that probably 55% of them she was able to somehow put up on my behalf up and down the roadway. So who am I? I am a 13-year civil practitioner. By that I mean I largely practice in civil and commercial litigation. I started my legal career out with the Honorable Judge Jeffrey L. Schmale. At the time, he was the administrative head of the Civil Division of Berks County Court of Common Pleas. He is now an Article III federal judge sitting in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. While I was working with Judge Schmale, he taught me how important it is to have faith and trust in the system. When I clerked for him, I saw a court where anybody could come in and everybody knew that they were going to get a fair shake and they were going to receive due process of law and they would be treated with respect. It was then, and I would say the first week that I was there, that I understood that I wanted to be a judge. It was just a matter of when. And I have these groups of people in my life who know me, friends and very close friends and relatives. And I have this one group of people telling me, well, I can't believe that you were ever interested in running for judge. And then I have this other group that said, I'm so glad that you're finally running Weasels and have shut up about it. And I'm reminded of Ronald Reagan, who once said, if not us, then who, if not now, then when. So I stand before you tonight, and I'm looking for this job, and I'm doing it for the right reasons. I know everybody in this room values their money. I know everybody in this room values responsibility, fiscal responsibility in their legislators, and in their judges. And I can tell you that I'm going to come in and I'm going to work hard. I've never known any other way. I've been a fiercely competitive person who has worked very hard in his legal career to develop this skill set and the client base and everything that I have to this date. I'm a partner at Fox Rothschild in Exton, Pennsylvania. There I represent mostly Berks County individuals, families, institutions, school districts, and municipalities throughout the county and in a number of different civil disciplines. Getting back to when I clerked for Judge Schmale, when I was his law clerk, I was exposed to the civil bench, I was exposed to criminal matters, PCRA petitions and homicides, minor criminal offenses, and again, I was exposed to everything from land use planning to tax issues, and I carried that with me as I practiced and moved from job to job to where I am ultimately now at Fox Rothschild, where I've been for the last 7 years, and I'm a partner. So the things that are important to me in running for this race are to convey to you that I'm doing this for the right reasons. Again, as I stated, I want to come in and I want to work hard. I want to put in 40-hour work weeks. I want to do civil dockets or whatever case I'm assigned to. To Ms. Klein's point, none of us on this stage know where we're going to be. This is a court of general jurisdiction. We have to be able to handle anything that comes before us.
Excuse me, quiet in the back, please. Quiet in the back, thank you.
And we have to be able to, handle any type of case that comes before us, whether it's in the civil division, the criminal division, orphans court, or in family court. I have some exposure to all of these things and significant exposure and trial experience in the civil context, which I think carries over into any of the divisions. I could fit in any area of the court and do what is necessary and do what is needed of me and be value provided to you as members of the community, and I think that is important from our court system. But most importantly, I see something right now where I see the American public losing trust and faith in its institutions. And as a conservative, as I know all of you are, institutions are critically important to all of us. They're important to our lives, and they're important in our society. And I will say that I want to do whatever I can from this small corner of Berks County to instill and engender trust in the court. And it starts with us. It starts with us being responsible and accountable to the people. It starts with us maintaining integrity and being above board and being completely transparent in the process. And it starts with us coming in and showing to you that you can put faith in the system and that you understand when you come before the court, you're going to receive due process of law. I am, I find myself to be a principled person, and I'm an honest person, and I want to convey to all of you that I will do whatever I can and hold myself accountable and hold myself to the highest standards so that you can have faith in the system and in my decisions. I personally, I hope that you think of me on May 16th. I ask for your vote, and I've got some palm cards, I've got some signs out back, and I'd love to meet any of you and talk with you after. And I would just remind everybody sitting in this room that, as announced when I came up, I'm the only Republican in this contest. So please remember that, even though we're all cross-filed. Thank you.
Thank you. He didn't even need a warning, did he? Okay, we're now here for Tina Boyd.
Thank you, Rod. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tina Boyd. I'm running for Court of Common Pleas Judge in Berks County. I live in Ole with my husband Jeff and my 2 children, Natalie and Jonah, and I also practice law with my husband Jeff at Boynton Harbor in Boyertown. I've been an attorney for approximately 20 years, and my practice has been in the civil division mainly, although I do have experience in all areas of the law. I have been in dependency court, I've been in criminal court, I've been in orphans court, but primarily I have dedicated my life and my career to protecting Berks County families by representing individuals in domestic situations, divorce, custody, and support matters. These are the matters that really hit home for most people. That it's when people are struggling the most, dealing with these issues. It's very emotional, they're very scared. It's taking one household and dividing that into 2 and figuring out how you were not able to make one paycheck work in a household, now you have to divide it into 2, and how are you going to make your bills last? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to take care of your children? And mainly, how are you going to pay child support? So I'm representing individuals at the lowest point in their lives and at very scary times. And they look to me for advice, they look to me for help through navigating through the court system, and they look to me for support. And I have devoted my law career to representing these individuals because I care about individuals, I care about people. And I think, my background provides me a very good basis for representing people and giving them very good creative ideas for helping them through these times. I started my law career with Judge Ehrlich in 1997 when I came to Berks County. And not only was Judge Ehrlich a wonderful mentor for the reason I chose to practice family law, but she's also been a wonderful mentor in my decision to run for judge. She was a very compassionate woman, tough when she needed to be, but she cared about the individuals that presided before her. She cared about what happened to those individuals, and she cared about the decisions that she made. She struggled a lot with the decisions, and she had a lot of people who would criticize her for not making prompt decisions, but it was not because she did not care about her job or that she wasn't efficient. She cared too much about her job. When I left Judge Ehrlich and went into private practice, I had the choice to pretty much practice in whatever area I decided to do, but I chose to practice in family court because not only was she a great mentor, but to me it brought me satisfaction, and I felt that I could accomplish something by actually helping people, everyday individuals like everyone sitting here, and getting you through the system when you're having some very tough times in your life and you're not sure whether or what tomorrow brings. I believe as a judge, your personal life is equally as important as your professional life. I was raised in a very adverse situation from the other candidates sitting on this stage. My grandmother raised me since I was 13 months old. I've never known my father. I do not have a good relationship with my mother, and I didn't have a male role model growing up. But what I did have is I had very good core values. I was raised to care about people, to treat people as you wanted to be treated. I was raised with hard work ethic and a good sense of right and wrong. And those are the values that I intend to bring to the bench on top of my legal experience, which I believe will make me a very well-rounded compassionate, stern, but caring judge. And Berks County needs someone to protect this county, not only from the crime that's out there, but also from the, dissatisfaction that they're not receiving from the justice system. One of the biggest complaints I receive from my clients is